My brother called me a fake veteran at dinner. Then his commander saluted me. The night my brother called me a fake veteran, I arrived at his promotion dinner with someone else's blood dried beneath my fingernails. It belonged to a 19-year-old college student whose pickup had rolled 3 times on Interstate 95. Our helicopter had landed between 2 lanes of frozen traffic, while volunteer firefighters cut him out of the cab. He had stopped breathing twice before we reached the trauma center in Fayetteville. By the time I signed him over to the emergency department, I was 47 minutes late for dinner. My hair smelled like aviation fuel, and the sleeve of my black dress was torn at the cuff. I changed in the hospital restroom, scrubbed until my hands turned pink, and covered the dress with the old green field jacket I kept in my flight locker. The jacket had no name tape, no rank, and no unit patch. I had removed everything years ago. Only a pale rectangle remained where the flag had once been stitched to the shoulder. I almost left it in the locker. Then I imagined my mother sitting alone at a table full of officers and military spouses while my brother pretended not to look toward the door. Our family had spent years measuring love by attendance. Miss a birthday, and you did not care. Arrive late, and you were making a statement. Tell the truth, and you were trying to ruin someone's big night. So I put on the jacket and drove to the restaurant. The steakhouse stood on the edge of downtown Fayetteville, close enough to Fort Liberty that half the framed photographs on the walls showed soldiers standing beside helicopters, armored vehicles, or dusty foreign roads. A bronze plaque near the entrance said the building had once been a feed warehouse. The restaurant owner had preserved the original beams and brick, then filled the place with military history collected from local families. When I walked in, the hostess looked at my jacket, then at my exhausted face. "Private event?" she asked. "My brother's dinner." She checked a printed list. "You're Rebecca Sullivan." "Rebecca is fine." Her eyes moved to a cluster of people, beneath a banner that read "Congratulations, Major." My brother stood at the center of them, smiling as if someone had built the room around him. He was younger than me by 6 years, but most strangers guessed the opposite. He carried himself with the polished certainty of a man who had practiced being admired. His uniform fit perfectly. His ribbons were arranged with mathematical precision. Even from across the room, I could see that his jaw tightened when he noticed me. My mother saw me next. Relief crossed her face before she hid it behind a small, wounded smile. "You came," she said when I reached the table. I said I would. "You're late." We had a rollover on 95. She touched my sleeve. "You wore that jacket." "My dress tore at work." "You could have gone home and missed dinner." Her silence told me there had never been a correct choice. My brother approached with a champagne glass in one hand. "Look who finally made it." "I'm sorry I'm late." "Saving lives." His tone made the words sound childish. "Yes." He looked at the jacket. "You really wore that here." "It's cold. It's 68 degrees." I came from a helicopter. A few nearby guests laughed politely. My brother did not. His wife stood beside him with her phone in one hand, already recording short clips for Instagram. She moved the camera toward me. "Rebecca, say congratulations." I looked at my brother. "Congratulations." He smiled for the camera. She always knows how to make an entrance. I wanted to tell him that I had not come for his promotion because no promotion had happened yet. His selection was expected, not official. The dinner was his idea, arranged before the board released its final decision. But I knew better than to correct him in public. Our father had taught us that lesson. Praise your brother in front of other people, he used to tell me. If you have a problem, handle it at home. At home had meant nowhere. A waiter led me to the only empty chair between my mother and the restaurant owner. The restaurant owner was broad-shouldered, gray at the temples, and dressed in a dark shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. A camera hung from an old leather strap near the bar, more decoration than equipment. He pulled out my chair. "Rough shift?" he asked. "Normal Thursday." He looked at the dried, reddish line I had missed near my thumbnail. "Not normal for most people. Most people have better Thursdays." His smile was quiet and brief. I liked him immediately, which made me cautious. The restaurant owner and I had met several times over the previous year. He donated meals to the hospital during storms and brought coffee to the helicopter crew after overnight flights. We had spoken about weather, food, road closures, and once about the best place to watch the sunrise outside the city. He had never asked about my past. That was one reason I trusted him. The commander sat across from us. I recognized him before he recognized me. Age had changed the lines of his face, and the silver at his temples had replaced the dark hair I remembered beneath a flight helmet. His left hand rested stiffly beside his plate. 2 fingers did not fully straighten. I knew why. I had held that hand inside a burning aircraft while his blood filled my gloves. For 1 second, the restaurant disappeared. I heard rotor blades losing rhythm. I smelled hydraulic fluid and scorched insulation. I felt someone pounding against twisted metal behind me. Then the waiter set down a glass of water, and the room returned. The commander was studying the menu. He had not looked at me yet. I lowered my keys into my lap and wrapped my fingers around them. The scorched silver compass attached to the ring pressed into my palm. I carried it everywhere and showed it to no one. The restaurant owner noticed the movement. His eyes dropped to the compass before I closed my fist. Something changed in his expression. Not recognition exactly, more like a door opening onto a dark room. "You all right?" he asked. "Fine." Across the table, my brother was telling a story about a field exercise. Everyone leaned toward him as he described making a decision under pressure, while rain turned the training area into mud. He was good at telling stories. He knew where to pause and when to lower his voice. He gave other people just enough credit to sound generous without losing the center of the scene. I watched the commander listen. The commander's expression remained polite but distant. My brother noticed that too. Dinner moved through appetizers, steaks, speeches, and photographs. Every few minutes, someone raised a glass to my brother's leadership. He accepted each compliment with a modest downward glance he had learned from our father. My mother touched my arm during the second speech. "You should say something," she whispered. "He doesn't want me to. He's your brother." That hasn't stopped him from hearing me before. She frowned. "Please don't start tonight." I had not started anything, but in our family, refusing to pretend was considered aggression. The local reporter sat 2 tables away. I recognized her from television. She covered military stories, city politics, and anything likely to produce strong Facebook comments. Near her, a military spouse held her phone upright, streaming to TikTok. I could see hearts rising along the edge of the screen. My brother moved to the center of the room for his final speech. He thanked his soldiers, his commander, his wife, and our mother. He did not mention me. I was grateful. Then he lifted his glass and said, "There is one more person here tonight who deserves recognition." My mother's fingers tightened around mine. My brother looked directly at me. My sister has always believed that service comes in many forms. The room shifted toward us. I felt the old instinct rise inside me. "Stay still, say little, give no one a target." "She works as a helicopter nurse," my brother continued. "That is important work, nobody denies it." His wife raised her phone higher. But over the years, some people have gotten the impression that she also served in the military. I heard the restaurant owner set down his fork. My mother whispered, "What is he doing?" My brother smiled. "It's an understandable misunderstanding. She wears old field jackets. She uses certain phrases. She tells stories with just enough missing pieces that people make assumptions." I had told no stories. Not to him, not to anyone at that table. My brother reached beneath the podium and lifted a thin folder. A cold pressure spread through my chest. "I believe stolen valor damages every real veteran," he said, "even when the person doing it is family." Someone stopped chewing. The commander looked up. My brother opened the folder. "I requested records." He held up a sheet of paper. "It says Rebecca Sullivan has no publicly releasable record of active duty service under the information provided." The local reporter was already typing. The military spouse's live stream viewer count climbed. My brother looked at me, as if he were giving me one last opportunity to save myself. "Maybe this is all a misunderstanding," he said, "so let's clear it up." He raised his glass toward me. "Name your unit." My mother stood halfway from her chair. "This is not the place." "It's exactly the place," my brother said. "A room full of people who earned what they wear." My mouth had gone dry. I could have said army. I could have said medical evacuation. I could have named the aviation battalion listed on the first page of my sealed personnel history. But he would ask what came next. He had designed the question so any answer led deeper. The task force designation remained protected. Several foreign partners connected to the operation were still alive. Some lived under new identities. One had children who believed their father had been a mechanic. I looked at the commander. He was staring at me now. Not with recognition. With concentration. My brother walked closer and placed the records request on the table beside my plate. "Just tell us," he said, "what unit. I'm not discussing my personnel history at your dinner." He gave a disappointed laugh. That is what I thought. I could hear comments from the live stream being read aloud near the other table. "Ask her for a DD-214. Check the jacket. Fake. She looks nervous." My brother removed another paper from the folder. "I submitted a formal complaint this morning." My mother covered her mouth. "A complaint to whom?" I asked. "The appropriate people. You accessed my information." I verified a claim. "What claim?" "That you have allowed people to believe you are a veteran." "I have never told anyone here that I served." "That is convenient." The restaurant owner pushed his chair back. "That's enough," he said. My brother turned. "This is family business." "You made it restaurant business when you live-streamed it." "I didn't start the stream." "No," the restaurant owner said. "You just positioned yourself where every camera could see." The words landed hard enough to change my brother's face. He recovered quickly. "This matters to me." "Then handle it without an audience." My brother looked toward the commander, searching for support. "Sir, you understand why this matters?" The commander did not answer. My brother's confidence flickered. He turned back to me, reached for the complaint, and slid it across my plate. The bottom edge dragged through steak sauce. "Apologize," he said. "For what?" "For using our profession to make yourself feel important." I looked at him. For years, I had remembered the little boy who slept outside my bedroom after our father shouted. The teenager who called me from a gas station because he was afraid to go home. The cadet who mailed me his first photograph in uniform with a note that said, "Now maybe Dad will be proud of one of us." That boy had vanished so gradually, I had kept speaking to him long after he was gone. "You know I never did that," I said. "I know you disappear whenever anyone asks a direct question." My fingers closed around the compass. The metal edge cut into my skin. My brother saw the movement. "What is that?" he asked. "Nothing." He reached toward my hand. I pulled back. The compass slipped from my fingers, struck the edge of the table, and landed near the commander's glass. The room became very quiet. The compass was small, silver, and blackened along one side. Heat had warped the lid so it never closed completely. A faded strip of red tape crossed the back. The commander stared at it. His face emptied of color. The restaurant owner whispered, "I knew I had seen it." My brother looked between them. "What?" The commander picked up the compass. His damaged fingers trembled. He turned it over and saw 3 shallow lines scratched beside the hinge. His breathing changed. "Where did you get this?" he asked me. I stood slowly. "It was given to me." "By whom?" "I can't answer that here." The commander's eyes lifted to my face. The restaurant around us disappeared for him too. I saw it happen. His gaze moved across the scar near my jaw, the slight bend in my left wrist, and the place on my neck where a burn climbed beneath my collar. He spoke 6 words in a language no one else at the table understood. They were not a question in the ordinary sense. They were an emergency authentication phrase used by our team when radios had been compromised. I answered with the required 4 words. The commander stopped breathing. My brother's expression hardened. What did she say? The commander rose. His chair scraped the floor. He placed the compass carefully beside my plate. Then he stepped back, straightened his uniform, and came to attention. I wanted to tell him not to do it. I wanted to run. Instead, the commander raised his right hand and saluted me. Every phone in the room captured it. My brother stared at him. Sir. The commander held the salute. My body responded before my mind did. My shoulders squared, my heels came together, my hand rose. The old motion felt like opening a grave. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then the commander lowered his hand. You kept me alive, he said. My brother laughed once too loudly. Sir, I think there has been some confusion. The commander did not look at him. What happened to the rest of the crew? He asked me. The question drove through my chest. The pounding returned. Metal. Smoke. A voice screaming from the rear compartment. I grabbed the table to steady myself. I can't do this here. The commander stepped forward. Sullivan. Hearing the name spoken in that voice pulled me backward 17 years. I saw him strapped into a seat, blood running from his ear. I heard him order me to leave. I heard myself say no. Then I was in the restaurant again, surrounded by strangers who wanted the next line of a story that had killed people. My brother stepped between us. This is absurd, he said. She works for a hospital. She has worked for civilian hospitals for years. That does not erase what came before, the commander said. You recognize a compass, and suddenly she is some secret war hero. I did not say hero. The commander's tone was sharp enough to silence the room. My brother seized on the word. Exactly, you don't know what she did. No, the commander said, I know what she did for me. The military spouse turned her phone toward my brother as comments raced up the screen. Commander saluted her. This is insane. Part 2. Who is she? My brother looked at the phones, the local reporter, and the officers who had been praising him 10 minutes earlier. His humiliation became anger. He pointed at me. She planned this. I almost admired the speed of it. You invited me, I said. You knew he would be here. I did not know who your commander was. You expect me to believe that. The commander's jaw tightened. Watch yourself. My brother turned to him. Sir, with respect, she has spent her entire life manipulating people with silence. She lets everyone fill in the blanks, then acts wounded when they get it wrong. The accusation hurt because part of it was true. I had spent years letting people fill in blanks. I had believed silence protected them. Maybe it had protected only me. The restaurant owner came around the table and stood beside me. This dinner is over, he said. My brother glared at him. Stay out of this. No. You own a steakhouse. This has nothing to do with you. The restaurant owner looked at the scorched compass. I photographed that compass on a flight line overseas. My head snapped toward him. He met my eyes. There was regret in his face. My brother saw it. His expression changed again, calculation replacing rage. You know her too. Not the way you mean. How many people did she arrange for tonight? The restaurant owner took one step toward him. You accused your sister in public because you thought she had no way to defend herself. Don't pretend you are the victim because you were wrong. My brother's wife lowered her phone. The commander looked at the folder on the table. Where did you get those records? My brother hesitated. Through a lawful request. That paper does not say she did not serve, the commander said. It says no publicly releasable record was found using the information provided. It means the same thing. No, it does not. The commander picked up the page. Who helped you submit this? My brother's face closed. I followed procedure. The commander studied him for a moment that felt longer than the entire dinner. Then he said, report to my office at 0700. My brother swallowed. Sir, tomorrow is Saturday. I am aware. The local reporter stood. Rebecca, can you confirm you served in the United States Army? I looked at her camera. No. Her eyes widened. I continued. I am saying I will not answer questions about my service history in a restaurant. Were you involved in a classified operation? I am leaving. Did the commander recognize you from combat? The questions followed me as I walked toward the exit. My mother called my name. I did not turn around. Outside, warm air hit my face. Downtown traffic moved past the restaurant in soft streams of red and white. A motorcycle accelerated at the intersection, and the sound made my shoulders lock. I stood beside my car and tried to breathe. The restaurant owner came outside. He stopped several feet away. "I'm sorry," he said. "For which part?" Knowing that compass looked familiar and saying nothing. "You said you photographed it." "I did." "Where?" He glanced toward the restaurant doors. "Not here." "Did you know who I was?" "No, I had a guess after I saw the scar. The compass made it more than a guess." I unlocked my car. "What happened to those photographs?" "I kept my negatives." "Why?" "Because the military seized the published set, and I learned early that institutions lose whatever becomes inconvenient." I faced him. "Do not show them to anyone." "Rebecca." "Do not." He looked as though he wanted to argue. Instead, he nodded. My phone vibrated. 32 missed notifications. Then 50. Then 90. The restaurant owner looked at his own phone and swore quietly. The live stream had already been clipped. The first video was titled "Army Major Exposes Fake Veteran Sister." The second was titled "Commander Salutes Woman Accused of Stolen Valor." Both were spreading faster than facts could move. My brother came through the doors behind us. His face was pale with controlled fury. "You destroyed me," he said. I stared at him. "You built a stage and handed me the accusation. You knew he would recognize you." "I did not." "You always do this." "Do what?" "Make everyone feel sorry for you without saying anything." The restaurant owner stepped between us. My brother ignored him. "You could have told me," he said. The anger in his voice cracked, and for 1 second I heard the boy from years ago. "You could have told me the truth." "I tried." "When?" "The night before you left for basic training." He shook his head. "You told me not to believe everything Dad said. That was not the truth. It was the only truth I could give you then. Because you decided I could not handle it. Because people were still in danger. People are always in danger in your stories. I never told you stories. That is the point." He stepped closer. "I had to build my entire life around a shadow. Dad compared me to someone he would not explain. You looked at my uniform like it hurt you. Every promotion, every deployment, every time I tried to make you proud, you acted like you knew something I did not. I was afraid for you. You were judging me." "No. You think silence makes you noble." The words struck deeper than his accusation inside. My brother lowered his voice. "I will find out what you did." "Stop." "If you served, I will find it. If you lied, I will prove it." "You already know I did not lie." His eyes flickered. It lasted less than a second. "But I saw it." "You knew," I said. He looked away. "How much do you know?" "Enough to know you should have told me." "That is not an answer." "It is more than you ever gave me." He turned and walked back into the restaurant. The restaurant owner watched him leave. "He knew," he said. "Yes." "How?" "I don't know." A car horn sounded farther down the block. My phone continued vibrating. The hospital administrator had left 2 messages. The first asked me to call. The second said, "Do not come in until we speak." I opened my car door. A white envelope rested on the driver's seat. I froze. I always locked my car. The restaurant owner saw my face. "What is it?" "Stay back." I pulled a pair of medical gloves from my work bag and lifted the envelope. Inside was a photocopy of a map. The paper showed a valley, a flight route, and a black circle drawn around the place where our aircraft had gone down. Across the top, in faded block letters, was an operation code that had never appeared in any public report. At the bottom, someone had written 4 words. Tell them who you left. My knees nearly gave out. The restaurant owner caught my elbow. What is that? I folded the page before he could read it. Something no one at that dinner should have. Call the police. This is not police. Then who? I looked through the restaurant window. My brother stood alone near the podium, staring at me. For the first time that night, he was not angry. He was afraid. By sunrise, more than 2 million people had watched my brother call me a fake veteran. By 8, someone had found the hospital's main number. By 9, strangers were leaving 1-star reviews that said I had invented military service to gain trust from patients. By 10, a YouTube channel devoted to exposing stolen valor had published a frame-by-frame analysis of my field jacket. The host zoomed in on the empty rectangles where the patches had been removed. This is classic implication, he said. She wants viewers to imagine the history. He was wrong about my intention. He was right about the effect. The second video, the one showing the commander's salute, created a different army of strangers. Some called me a hero. Others said the commander was confused, drunk, or part of a staged publicity stunt. A Reddit thread identified 3 possible women from old deployment photographs. None were me. An Instagram account compared my scar to burns suffered in helicopter crashes. A Facebook veterans group posted my address before moderators deleted it. At 11, the hospital administrator placed me on administrative leave. She called from an office 3 floors above the trauma center, where I had worked for 7 years. We are not making a judgment, she said. You told me not to come in. We received threats. Against me. Against the hospital, against patients. Someone said they were coming to confront you during your shift. So your answer is to remove me. Our answer is to protect everyone while we verify the facts. What facts? She hesitated. Did you serve? My fingers tightened around the phone. I provided every license, employment record, and credential required for my job. That is not what I asked. No. Her voice softened. Rebecca, I want to help you. Then do not ask me to satisfy a mob. We have donors calling. Board members are concerned. The video says you misrepresented your background. The video says what my brother said. Can you deny it? I deny that I ever claimed military status for employment or personal gain. That wording will not calm anyone. Truth is not always calming. She exhaled. You will remain paid for 72 hours. After that, the board will review your status. I looked through my apartment window. 2 cars were parked across the street. One held a man with a camera. Understood. Please stay away from the hospital until this is resolved. The call ended. I sat at my kitchen table, wearing the same clothes from dinner. The copied map lay inside a plastic evidence sleeve I had improvised from a freezer bag. I had not slept. At midnight, I called a military attorney recommended by the commander. The attorney listened without interrupting, then told me not to discuss the operation with anyone. At all, I asked. Not until I know what remains protected. My brother has a map. Do you know that? He was watching me when I found it. That is not proof. He accessed my records. Possibly. He knew I served. Knowing and proving are different things. I hated the sentence because it was true. The military attorney arranged for an army investigator to meet me at the restaurant before opening. The restaurant owner had offered the private dining room because reporters had surrounded my apartment building. I left through the rear stairwell wearing hospital scrubs, a baseball cap, and sunglasses. The disguise lasted until the parking lot. A woman filming from a car shouted, "What unit were you in?" Another voice called, "Show your DD-214." I kept walking. The restaurant owner waited behind the building in an old pickup. He opened the passenger door without speaking. As we pulled away, I saw my own face on the phone of a man standing near the curb. You can stay in the apartment above the restaurant, the restaurant owner said. I have a home. You have an address circulating online. I can handle reporters. You should not have to handle someone throwing a brick through your window. I looked at him. Did that happen? Not yet. Then do not turn possibility into fact. He gripped the steering wheel. You do that often. Do what? Reduce danger until it sounds manageable. It usually is. He glanced at me. Your brother ambushed you in a room full of cameras. Someone put a classified map inside your locked car. Your employer removed you because strangers threatened a hospital. Which part is manageable? All of it separately. That is not an answer. It is the one I have. The restaurant owner shook his head, but he did not push further. The Army investigator arrived wearing civilian clothes and carrying a plain leather folder. She had the patient expression of someone who expected every conversation to become a lie eventually. The commander came 10 minutes later. He looked older than he had the night before. No uniform, no ribbons, no authority displayed except the way the room changed when he entered. The Army investigator placed a recorder on the table. Do I have permission to record? Yes, I said. The commander nodded. The restaurant owner remained near the door. The investigator looked at him. He owns the location, I said. He stays. That is not standard. Neither is my brother's TikTok prosecution. The restaurant owner folded his arms. The investigator considered it, then continued. Ms. Sullivan, did you serve in the United States Army? Yes. The word felt less dramatic than the internet expected. Dates. I gave them. Component. Active duty, later reserve status under restricted assignment. Military occupational specialty. I gave the original designation. Units. I named the public ones and stopped before the task force. The investigator watched me. There is more. Yes. Why are you refusing? Because I have not received confirmation that disclosure is authorized. The commander leaned forward. The task force is not the issue. I looked at him. You do not know that. I have clearance. You have authority over my brother. You do not have authority over my obligations. The investigator's eyes moved between us. The commander sat back. Fair. I placed the copied map on the table. The investigator put on gloves and examined it. The commander's jaw tightened when he saw the operation code. Where did you get this? My car. When? After dinner. Who had access? No one with permission. Was the car locked? Yes. Any sign of forced entry? No. The restaurant owner said, a rear service camera may cover part of the lot. The investigator looked at him. May. The camera angle changed during roof repairs. I have not checked the footage. Preserve it. I already did. She returned her attention to me. Do you believe your brother placed this in your car? I believe he knows more than he admitted. That was not my question. I do not know who placed it. Has he ever had access to classified or protected material connected to your service? Not lawfully. The investigator noticed the word. Unlawfully. I looked at the commander. He gave no sign of what he wanted me to say. That should not have mattered. It did. My father kept boxes after I left service, I said. Personal items, correspondence, copies of forms he should not have retained. Where are those boxes? In his garage. Your father is deceased. Yes. Who controls the property? My mother, technically. My brother has a key. When did you last check the boxes? 3 years ago. What was inside? Letters, photographs, medical paperwork, some notes. Maps? No. Recordings? The question came too quickly. The commander looked at her. Why recordings? The investigator did not answer him. She watched me. I do not know, I said. That was technically true. I had never seen a recording in my father's boxes. I knew one had existed. The cockpit system captured internal communication until the power failed. I had heard part of the audio during the original review. My own voice had sounded like a stranger's. The investigator closed the folder. Your brother is the subject of a separate inquiry. The commander's head turned. What inquiry? You are not authorized to discuss that with her, the investigator said. You brought it into this room. Because it may be relevant. I leaned forward. What happened? The investigator studied me. 4 months ago, your brother supervised a night training event. Weather deteriorated. A safety officer recommended suspension. Your brother continued. My stomach tightened. Were people hurt? 2 soldiers suffered serious injuries. 1 may not return to duty. The commander's face hardened. I was told the weather shifted unexpectedly. You were told what the preliminary report stated. You believe he altered it. I believe witnesses changed portions of their statements after speaking with him. I looked toward the restaurant door. My brother had built his life around command. A failed exercise could delay promotion. An integrity finding could end it. What does that have to do with me? The investigator slid a printout across the table. It showed an anonymous email sent to a military blogger 6 weeks earlier. The message claimed a prominent officer's sister had faked service for years, and that the officer was being punished because he intended to expose corruption. He started before dinner, I said. We do not yet know who sent it. You showed it to me because you suspect him. I showed it because the timing matters. The commander stood and walked toward the window. He invited the reporter, he said. The local reporter had claimed she was attending as a guest of the restaurant. I had believed her. The restaurant owner shook his head. I did not invite her. The commander turned. Then who did? No one answered. The army investigator gathered her papers. Do not contact your brother. He will contact me. Do not engage. Will you take the map? Yes. Make a copy for my attorney. She nodded. As she sealed the evidence, the commander looked at me. Why did you disappear? The investigator paused at the door. The question was not part of her inquiry. I answered anyway. I did not disappear. You left before the review concluded. I was medically discharged. You changed your number. My father was receiving calls. You never responded to mine. I never received them. The commander looked genuinely confused. I sent letters through your family. My father had handed me 1 envelope years after the mission. It was unopened and stained with coffee. He said, some officer wants to drag you back into that mess. I had burned it without reading. How many? I asked. 7. I looked at the floor. The commander's voice lowered. I needed to know who made it out. So did I. You were there. I was unconscious for 9 days. No one told me. No one told me you survived. He stepped closer. We lost 17 years because people decided what truth we could handle. The sentence seemed directed at both of us. The investigator left with the map. The commander remained. I am being ordered not to speak publicly, he said. That is probably wise. They want me to describe the salute as an emotional reaction. It was. That does not mean it was mistaken. No. I can confirm your service without discussing the operation. My brother will say you are protecting me. He is under my command. That makes it worse. Frustration entered his face. What do you want me to do? Nothing. The restaurant owner looked away. The commander stared at me. That answer did not save you before. It saved other people. Did it? I felt the question physically. The commander left without another word. The restaurant owner waited until the door closed. You push away everyone trying to help. Only the persistent ones. That explains why I am still here. Despite everything, I almost smiled. He carried a small cardboard box to the table. What is that? My old work. He removed a stack of contact sheets, each protected in cloudy plastic. The first showed a military airfield under a white sky. The next showed aircraft crews moving equipment. Another showed medics carrying stretchers. The images were grainy and taken from a distance. He pointed to a frame near the bottom. A silver compass hung from a hook inside an aircraft doorway. The red tape was clean then, the lid was not burned. My throat tightened. You were at the forward field, I said. For 6 days. Why? I was embedded with a logistics unit. We heard aircraft launch after midnight. By morning, the runway was closed. He turned to another sheet. The frame showed smoke beyond low hills. The next showed damaged equipment being unloaded. The next showed body bags. I pushed the photographs away. Put them back. There are more. I said put them back. He obeyed. I did not know it was you. You should destroy them. No. They could expose people. I know how to blur faces. You do not know what matters. Then tell me. I cannot. His frustration sharpened. You keep asking everyone to trust a silence you will not explain. You think photographs make you entitled. No, I think someone is using your silence to bury you. I have survived worse. That does not make this acceptable. My phone rang. The fallen soldier's widow was calling. I had not spoken to her in 16 years. I stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it rang again. The restaurant owner said, "Answer. You do not know who she is. I know you are afraid of her." I answered. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then the widow said, "I saw the video." Her voice had changed less than I expected. "I am sorry," I said. "Do not say that. I did not mean. You do not get to begin with sorry after 16 years. I closed my eyes. What do you need? The truth. I cannot give you all of it. You can tell me whether you left him. The restaurant owner moved toward the door, giving me privacy. I said he stayed behind. That is not what I asked. He made a choice. Did you leave him alive? My vision narrowed. Smoke filled the edges of the room. He was alive when we lifted. The widow inhaled sharply. Then the internet is right. No. You abandoned him. We had wounded aboard, the aircraft was failing, we were taking fire. He was your crew. He was protecting the evacuation. You let him. He ordered me to go. You always say orders matter when they protect you. I never said that. You never said anything. The line went silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. There is a meeting at the Veterans Clinic this afternoon. Come. I cannot. You will. I am being advised not to speak. I do not care about your advice. I care about your safety. She laughed bitterly. My safety, after all these years. The call ended. At 2, I went to the Veterans Clinic. The parking lot was already crowded. A local news van stood near the entrance. Someone had posted the meeting location online. Veterans, family members, protesters, and people with phones filled the sidewalk. The restaurant owner drove me. You do not have to go inside, he said. Yes, I do. Why? Because she asked. That is not enough. It is for me. He parked behind the building and walked beside me through a service entrance. Inside, the widow waited near a vending machine. She was smaller than I remembered. Her hair had gone silver. She wore her husband's old unit pin on her coat. When she saw me, she slapped me. The sound echoed down the hallway. The restaurant owner moved forward. I raised a hand. No. The widow's eyes filled with tears. I waited for you, she said. I know. No, you do not. Every year, someone from the army called and used words like circumstances and sacrifice. Every year, I asked where you were. I was told you did not want contact. Who told you? My father. Her face changed. He visited me. The hallway seemed to tilt. When? After the memorial. What did he say? He said you were too unstable to speak. He said you had admitted making a reckless decision. My father had never attended the memorial. He told me he could not bear military funerals. What else? He brought a box, your husband's things. She nodded. Was there a compass? No. I took the scorched compass from my pocket. Her knees weakened. The restaurant owner caught her arm. She stared at it. That was his. Yes. Why do you have it? He gave it to me. When? Before the last flight. Why? My mouth would not form the answer. Because he knew the route was compromised. Because he believed someone might not come home. Because he had recorded a message and hidden it inside the compass casing. I had discovered the compartment after my discharge. I had never opened the recorder. Cowardice can wear the uniform of respect. I told myself the message belonged to her, so I had no right to hear it. Then I told myself delivering it would reopen her wounds. Then years passed, and every year made my silence harder to explain. The widow reached for the compass. I pulled back. Her grief turned to fury. You kept it. I was trying to protect. Do not finish that sentence. A door opened behind us. The former crew chief stepped into the hallway. He had gained weight and lost most of his hair, but I recognized his walk. He looked at me and said, "You still hold your breath before lying." I crossed the distance and grabbed him in a hug. For a second, he stood stiffly. Then his arms closed around me. You are alive, I said. So are you. Why did you never contact me? I did. The same answer the commander had given. The same stolen years. He looked at the widow and the compass. You never gave it to her. I could not. You mean you would not? The widow wiped her face. What happened to my husband? The former crew chief glanced toward the waiting room, where voices and camera shutters were growing louder. Not here. The restaurant owner led us into a storage office and locked the door. The former crew chief removed a small encrypted phone from his jacket. Someone contacted me 3 weeks ago, he said, asked about the cockpit recording. My skin went cold. Who? Anonymous at first. Then I traced a payment offer through a veteran charity shell. The restaurant owner asked, payment for what? My copy of the audio. You have it, I said. The former crew chief nodded. I kept a backup after the review team edited the transcript. The widow stared at him. There is a recording of my husband. Possibly, the final minutes are damaged. Play it. I cannot. She stepped toward him. Everyone keeps telling me what I cannot hear. The recording contains identifiers that could get people killed. After 17 years. Yes. The former crew chief looked at me. The person asking for it knew the operation code. He knew the route. He knew the official report was incomplete. My brother. I do not know. You said you traced payment. To a non-profit account managed by a consultant who worked on your brother's promotion campaign. My brother did not have a campaign in the formal sense. But he had spent months building a public profile through veteran events, leadership panels, podcasts, and charity appearances. The former crew chief continued. I came to Fayetteville to meet the Army investigator. Last night, someone broke into my motel room. Were you hurt? No, I left before they arrived. How did they know where you were? I called your mother. I stared at him. Why? To reach you. My mother told my brother. Probably. The widow sat down hard. The restaurant owner said, we need to call the investigator. I already did, the former crew chief said. She is on her way. A crash sounded outside the door. Then shouting. The local reporter's voice rose above the others. Rebecca, are you meeting with a survivor from the mission? Someone had seen us enter. The former crew chief swore. The restaurant owner checked the rear exit. We can move through the maintenance hall. The widow stood. I am not running. This is not about shame, I said. Everything is about shame with you. Before I could answer, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number appeared. It contained a photograph of the former crew chief entering the clinic. Below it were 6 words. He disappears if you keep digging. I showed it to him. His face tightened. The lights in the storage office went out. The widow gasped. The former crew chief opened the rear door. A fire alarm began to scream. For one terrible instant, the sound became the warning tone inside the aircraft. I was back in the dark. My hands would not move. The restaurant owner grabbed my shoulders. "Rebecca, look at me." Smoke did not fill the room. There was no fire. Only the alarm. "Rebecca." I focused on his face. "Breathe." I did. The former crew chief looked down the maintenance hall. "Rear exit is clear." We moved. Outside, the Army investigator waited beside an unmarked vehicle. She opened the rear door. "Get in." The former crew chief handed her the encrypted phone. As we drove away, I looked back at the clinic. Reporters streamed from the front entrance. Phones rose over the crowd. Across the street, a dark SUV pulled from the curb. It followed us for 3 blocks. Then it turned away. The Army investigator glanced in the mirror. "Your brother met with the commander 2 months ago," she said. The commander, seated in front, turned sharply. "What?" The investigator looked at him. "You did not tell her." He remained silent. I felt something inside me drop. "Why did he meet with you?" The commander's damaged hand tightened on his knee. "He brought me a photograph." "What photograph?" "One of you near a damaged aircraft." "Where did he get it?" "He said he found it in your father's garage." "What did he ask?" The commander looked at me. "He asked whether you were responsible for the deaths." The widow made a sound beside me. I could barely hear it over the blood pounding in my ears. "And what did you tell him?" I asked. The commander turned toward the windshield. I told him I did not remember enough to answer. My phone rang. "My brother." The Army investigator said, "Do not answer." I answered. He spoke before I could. "You should have stayed quiet." Then the call disconnected. The first time I entered my father's garage after his funeral, I found every box labeled with my brother's name. School awards, football photographs, academy letters, promotion announcements. My things were stacked in the back beneath a torn tarp. I had told myself it did not matter. At 42, I was too old to count whose memories had been kept dry. Now I returned with the Army investigator, the restaurant owner, and a county deputy carrying a search authorization signed after midnight. My mother stood in the driveway, wearing a robe beneath her winter coat. "You brought police to my home," she said. "I did not bring them." "You told them your brother stole from us." "I told them protected material may be inside." "Your father kept family documents." "Dad kept things he should not have had." "He was proud of you." The sentence stopped me. No, he was not. My mother's eyes shifted. He did not know how to show it. He knew how to show it to my brother. That was different. "Why?" She looked toward the garage. "Because your brother needed it." There it was. The organizing principle of our family. My brother needed praise, so I should understand. My brother needed protection, so I should stay silent. My brother needed a future, so the past belonged to him. The deputy cut the lock. Inside, the smell of dust, gasoline, and old cardboard carried me back to childhood. My father had spent every weekend in that garage repairing lawn equipment, sharpening tools, or listening to football games on a radio older than both his children. The Army investigator photographed the room before touching anything. My boxes were gone. Only clean rectangles remained on the concrete where they had rested. "When were you last inside?" the investigator asked my mother. 2 weeks ago." "Were the boxes here?" "I do not know." "You walked past them." I did not inventory Rebecca's old clutter. The investigator turned to me. "What exactly was stored?" "Letters from the commander, apparently, medical records, personal photographs, copies of travel orders, a notebook." "What notebook?" "My father's." "What was in it?" "Dates, calls he received, names he did not explain." The restaurant owner moved toward a wooden workbench. A thin layer of dust covered most of it except for a small rectangular space. "Something sat here recently," he said. The investigator crouched. A strip of black foam clung to a nail. Camera case, the restaurant owner said. How do you know? I used cases lined with the same material. My mother folded her arms. Your brother came by in April, she said. I faced her. For what? He wanted old Academy pictures. Did he take my boxes? I did not watch him. Did he ask about them? She looked away. Mom. He said he was trying to understand you. The words carried such innocent framing that I almost laughed. When did he take them? I do not know. Before or after the training accident. Her face changed. You know about that? Yes. He said it was not his fault. Did he tell you soldiers were injured? He said the army was looking for someone to blame. Did he tell you he ignored a safety officer? He said the officer panicked. The investigator made a note. My mother saw it. Do not twist my words. No one is twisting them, I said. She turned on me. You come back after all these years and decide your brother is a criminal. I never left. You left this family long before you moved away. I was stationed overseas. You stopped calling. Dad screened my calls. He was protecting us. From what? She stared at me as if the answer should have been obvious. From whatever happened to you. I wanted to shout. Instead, I walked to the rear shelves. My father's radio remained beside a coffee can full of screws. I turned it over. A small memory card had been taped beneath the battery cover. The investigator stepped closer. Do not touch it. She photographed the card, bagged it, and inserted it into a secured reader connected to her laptop. 3 video files appeared. The first showed the garage at night. The date stamp was 6 months earlier. My brother entered, turned on the work light, and moved directly to my boxes. He did not search. He knew where they were. He opened one, removed folders, and photographed each page with a small camera. The second file showed him returning 3 weeks later. This time, another person entered behind him wearing a uniform. The camera angle captured only the person's back. The commander watched the screen from over the investigator's shoulder. That is me, he said. The admission landed like a physical blow. My mother sat down on a folding chair. The restaurant owner looked at the commander. You came here? Yes. With her brother? Yes. Why? The commander did not answer him. He looked at me. Your brother said he had evidence connected to the mission. He claimed you had lied to him for years and might be using military identity for personal gain. And you believed him. I believed he had documents I needed to see. You could have contacted me. I tried for 17 years. That does not explain 6 months ago. His jaw tightened. No, it does not. The video showed my brother opening a folder and handing the commander a photograph. The commander studied it, then placed it back. My brother removed a notebook from the box. The commander seemed to object. There was no audio. My brother pointed toward the door. The commander left. My brother remained and loaded both boxes into his vehicle. The third file showed my father. The date was 3 weeks before his death. He entered alone, sat at the workbench, and spoke directly toward the camera. There was no sound. The memory card had recorded video only. My father held up the scorch compass. I stopped breathing. He turned it over, pressed the warped lid, and appeared to remove something from inside. Then he placed that object in a small envelope. My mother whispered, I never saw that. The video ended. The Army investigator replayed it. The object was too small to identify. The restaurant owner leaned closer. Could be a microcassette or data chip. The former crew chief's recording. Or another copy. My father had known. My brother had known where to look because my father had left him instructions, or because my mother had told him. I turned to her. What did Dad say about the compass? Nothing. Think. He called it evidence. Of what? Her eyes filled. Of what you did. The garage became very still. What did he believe I did? He said you disobeyed an order. He said people died. The commander closed his eyes. My mother continued because she had waited years to say it. He said you came home expecting everyone to call you brave, but you would not answer simple questions. I never expected anyone to call me brave. You wore your grief like a medal. I flinched. The restaurant owner stepped toward her. Enough. No, I said, let her finish. My mother looked smaller than she had in the driveway. Your father believed the military covered for you. Did he tell my brother that? Yes. When? His whole life in pieces. The answer explained too much. My brother had not grown up in my shadow by accident. My father had built the shadow, giving him fragments whenever he needed to make one child feel superior to the other. Your sister thinks rules do not apply to her. Your sister ran away. Your sister came home with secrets because secrets make her important. The investigator closed the laptop. We need to locate those boxes. My mother said he has a storage unit. The address was 20 minutes away near a strip mall. The facility manager provided access logs. My brother had entered 9 times in 4 months. The last entry was the morning of the promotion dinner. Security footage showed him carrying a document tube and a small metal case. No one else appeared. The unit itself was nearly empty. The boxes had been burned in a steel drum. Ash covered the floor. The investigator sifted carefully. She recovered fragments of photographs, melted plastic, and half of a notebook page. A line in my father's handwriting remained readable. She chose them over the others. I knew the sentence. He had shouted it at me the night I returned from rehabilitation. You chose them over us, he said. I had asked, who is us? He could not answer. The investigator found a receipt from a digital media service that specialized in audio restoration. The client name was false. The payment card belonged to the veterans nonprofit, linked to my brother's consultant. He copied the recording, I said. Likely, the investigator answered. What does he plan to do with it? The restaurant owner looked at his phone. Maybe this. A notification showed a new video posted by my brother. He sat in front of an American flag and spoke directly to the camera. I did not expect last night to become a national controversy, he began. My concern has never been personal attention, it is accountability. He looked tired, sincere, wounded. He was better on camera than most elected officials. I love my sister. I also believe no family relationship should place someone above the truth. Questions remain about her claims, the circumstances of her discharge, and a mission that cost American lives. The video cut to a blurred image. Me standing beside a damaged aircraft. The photograph from my father's box. My brother continued. I have asked military authorities to release all lawful information. Until then, I will not be intimidated by rank, emotion, or public pressure. The video ended with the words honor requires truth. Within minutes, the hashtag #FakeMedicBeck returned to the top of local trends. My brother had shifted the question. It was no longer whether I served. It was whether I deserved to be honored. The local reporter called me. I declined. She called the restaurant owner. He walked away to answer. When he returned, his expression was guarded. What did she want? I asked. Comment. On what? The photograph. You told her no. Yes. I watched him. He had the same look people wore when hiding a decision they believed was for my benefit. What else? Nothing. Do not do this. Do what? Protect me with a lie. He looked toward the investigator. This is not the place. Then we are leaving. We drove to the apartment above the restaurant. The space had exposed brick, 2 small bedrooms, and windows overlooking an alley. The restaurant owner had lived there when he first opened the business. Now he used it for storage and visiting relatives. He brought coffee upstairs. I stood near the window, watching a news crew set up across the street. You gave her something, I said. No. You are considering it. He set down the cups. I have photographs that prove you were there. They prove nothing about what happened. They prove your brother's original accusation was false. He moved beyond that. Because you let him. I turned. You think I am letting him. I think you are still treating this like a private family wound while he is running a public campaign. You want me to release classified images because Twitter is angry. I want you to stop acting as if destruction is honorable when you endure it quietly. My anger rose. You took photographs while other people bled. His face changed. The words were cruel, and I knew it before I finished speaking. He nodded once. Yes. That is not what I meant. It is what you said. I am sorry. He looked toward the old camera hanging by the door. I was 28. I thought documenting war made me useful. Then I photographed bodies being unloaded and realized every image that helped one person understand could destroy someone else's life. He opened a drawer and removed a photograph. Unlike the contact sheets, this one had been printed large. It showed the commander on a stretcher beside the aircraft wreckage. I was kneeling over him, one hand pressing a dressing against his chest. My face was turned toward the camera. The scorch compass hung from my neck. Behind us, smoke covered the horizon. You cannot release this, I said. His face can be blurred. The aircraft configuration cannot, the markings cannot, the terrain cannot. I know how to crop. And then what? The internet calls me a hero for 24 hours. My brother releases another piece. People identify the dead. Families relive funerals. He held my gaze. What happens if you do nothing? I find the full truth through proper channels. Proper channels created an official report that erased you. I do not know why. I do. The certainty in his voice surprised me. Institutions choose the version that protects the most powerful person in the room. Who was that? The commander, maybe, someone above him, maybe the mission itself. You are guessing. I am recognizing a pattern. My phone buzzed. A message from the former crew chief. Meet me alone, 1 hour, Old Bus Depot. I showed it to the restaurant owner. He shook his head. No. He said alone. That is why the answer is no. He may have the recording. He also said someone threatened him. I will tell the investigator. The former crew chief sent a second message. Do not tell Army, I know who edited it. I called the Army investigator anyway. She did not answer. The commander did. When I explained, he said, stay where you are. I am going. That is an order. You cannot order me. Silence. Then he said, you are right. The admission carried more weight than the command. Please wait. I have waited 17 years. I ended the call. The restaurant owner drove because he refused to let me go alone. He parked 2 blocks away and remained in the truck after I promised to call if anything changed. The old bus depot had been closed since the city rerouted service. Plywood covered half the windows. Weeds grew through cracks in the parking lot. The former crew chief waited inside beneath a faded route map. You told me to come alone, I said. He stayed outside. Yes. Good. He looked through the broken glass. You trust him. Sometimes. That sounds healthy. You disappeared from a motel. Do not lecture me about healthy. He almost smiled. Then he handed me a small audio player. I cleaned the first section. I put in the earbuds. Static filled my ears. Then rotor noise. A voice called altitude. Another reported engine temperature. I heard myself ask for the commander's blood pressure. The past opened under my feet. The recording jumped. A warning tone sounded. Then my own voice said, I am not leaving them. The commander shouted, that is a direct order. I answered, then write me up when we land. Gunfire cracked in the background. The recording cut again. Someone screamed. Then silence. I removed the earbuds. That is incomplete. Yes. It was edited. Yes. By whom? The original review team created a shortened operational copy. Your brother's version is worse. He combined separate moments. How do you know he has one? The former crew chief took out his phone. A message showed a payment demand and an audio waveform. The sender wrote, "We only need her voice and the warning tone." He wanted to make it sound like I refused before the system failure. Yes. Who contacted you? A contractor connected to your brother. Can you prove that? I traced the transfer request. The investigator can. Then why not give her everything? Because the full recording includes the local partner names. We can protect them. You hope. He looked exhausted. I spent years believing the system would eventually correct the record. It did not. Why did you keep a copy? Because the transcript changed. What changed? He hesitated. The commander's final order. I waited. He did not only order us to leave, the former crew chief said. He ordered you to abandon the rear team before the aircraft was full. I remembered. I had always remembered. What else? The final report said mechanical failure forced the evacuation. That was only part of it. What was the other part? Command sent us into the valley after intelligence warned the route was compromised. Who approved it? Someone above the commander. Is that on the audio? No, but the commander mentions the warning. I paced away. My father had believed I caused the deaths because someone had given him enough truth to weaponize the rest. Why would my brother revive this? To create noise around his investigation, to make himself the officer who exposed a cover-up. He could destroy his commander. Maybe he thinks that is the point. A door slammed outside. The former crew chief moved toward the rear exit. The restaurant owner entered from the front. 2 vehicles just pulled in. Police, I asked. No plates. We moved through a maintenance corridor. The back door opened onto railroad tracks. A dark SUV blocked the nearest street. The restaurant owner pointed toward an abandoned warehouse. We ran. My lungs burned. The former crew chief stumbled and I caught him. Behind us, 2 men entered the depot. They did not shout. That frightened me more. We reached the warehouse and slipped through a broken side door. The restaurant owner locked it with a chain found on the floor. What do they want? He whispered. The recording. The former crew chief removed the memory card from the player and pressed it into my hand. Take it. No. You are faster. That is debatable. Rebecca. The way he said my name returned us to the aircraft. He had used the same tone before ordering me toward the cockpit. Take the living, move. I closed my fist around the card. A metal door rattled at the front of the warehouse. The restaurant owner called 911 and gave our location. Footsteps moved along the outer wall. We climbed a narrow stairway to an office above the floor. The room had one window overlooking the tracks. The restaurant owner opened it. Drop is 12 feet. I have jumped farther. Recently. No. Then your historical confidence is not useful. Glass shattered downstairs. The former crew chief moved toward a second door. I will draw them away. No, I said. They want the card. They think you have it. Exactly. I grabbed his jacket. We already left people once. His eyes met mine. You did not leave us. I did. You came back twice. Not for him. The unspoken name filled the room. The fallen soldier. The compass owner. The man who stayed with the rear team because someone had to cover the aircraft. The former crew chief said he made his choice. I made mine. And you have punished yourself every day since. Has that brought him home? Footsteps climbed the stairs. The restaurant owner pushed a metal cabinet against the door. Conversation later. Police sirens approached. The men outside heard them. Footsteps retreated. A vehicle accelerated. By the time officers entered, the SUV was gone. The Army investigator arrived 20 minutes later, furious that we had ignored instructions and relieved enough to hide it badly. The former crew chief gave her the evidence. She promised secured review. We returned to the restaurant after dark. The local reporter waited in the alley. She held up her phone. "I need to warn you," she said. The restaurant owner went still. I looked at him. "What did you do?" The reporter turned the screen toward me. The photograph of me treating the commander filled the display. His face had been blurred, the aircraft had been cropped. The compass remained visible. The headline read "Fake Veteran or Secret Hero. New photo changes viral story." I faced the restaurant owner. "You gave it to her." "I gave one image under conditions." "You promised." "I promised not to show the full set." "That is your defense." "I believed this would stop the attacks." "You believed you had the right to decide." "I was trying to keep you from losing everything." My father said the same thing. Pain crossed his face. I left him in the alley. By the time I reached the apartment, the photograph had spread nationwide. The hospital administrator called. "Our board is reconsidering," she said. "I do not care." "Rebecca, this image may verify your account." "I never gave an account." "People are calling you a hero." "Yesterday they called me a fraud." "This is good news." "No, it is a different mob." I ended the call. The commander arrived alone. I almost refused to open the door. Then he said through the wood, "Your brother released audio." I let him in. He handed me his phone. The clip was 41 seconds long. My voice rose over warning alarms. "I am not leaving them." The commander's voice shouted a direct order. Then an impact. Then silence. The caption read "Secret recording. REBECCA, SULLIVAN, DEFIED evacuation, order before deadly crash." My brother appeared on a national news live stream minutes later. "I prayed this recording did not exist," he said, "but the families deserve to know." The widow posted one sentence on Facebook. "She left my husband alive." The story was no longer about stolen valor. It was about whether I had killed the people I claimed to save. The commander sat across from me. "What do you remember?" he asked. "Everything." "Then tell me." I looked at the man whose life I had saved and whose order I had disobeyed. "You told me to leave 17 people in that valley." His face collapsed. "No," he said, "I told you to leave 6. I stared at him. He continued. "The others were already moving toward the aircraft. They never arrived." "I know." "Why?" "I do not remember." I played the clip again. Behind the warning tone, barely audible, another voice spoke over the radio. The commander leaned closer. His face went pale. "That call sign," he whispered. "What?" "That was not supposed to be on our frequency." "Whose was it?" He looked at me. "Your father, S." My father had never served in the military. He repaired industrial radios for a defense contractor outside Raleigh. When I was a child, I thought his work involved office telephones and factory equipment. He left before sunrise, returned smelling of solder and coffee, and refused to discuss his projects. After I enlisted, he treated my service as a competition he had entered through me. He corrected my terminology. He criticized my assignments. He told neighbors more about my work than I told him. When I received orders he did not understand, pride became suspicion. I had never imagined his voice on an operational frequency overseas. The commander replayed the recording. Static. Warning tone. My refusal. His order. Then beneath the impact, a clipped transmission. Root holds, continue extraction. The voice was distorted, but the rhythm was my father's. I had heard that rhythm in every argument of my childhood. State the conclusion, as if disagreement were incompetence. The commander stood and paced the apartment. He was not there. No. He could not have transmitted directly. He worked communications. For a contractor. What contractor? The commander stopped. We both knew the likely answer. The mission had relied on a relay system installed and maintained by civilian technical teams. If my father's company supported one of those networks, he might have had access to testing channels, archive traffic, or remote diagnostic tools. That did not explain why his voice issued an operational instruction. The Army investigator arrived with the former crew chief. She carried a secured laptop. "We isolated the transmission," she said. "Voice comparison is preliminary, but it matches recordings from your father's garage camera at 87%. "Why was he on the frequency?" I asked. "We found employment records. He worked on a communications subcontract connected to the regional command network." "Did he know I was on the mission?" "Yes." The answer was immediate. The room seemed to shrink. "How?" "He accessed a routing schedule 3 days before launch. His credentials should not have allowed it." The commander said, "Did he alter the route?" "We are still determining that." The former crew chief sat down. "He knew the valley was compromised." The investigator looked at him. "We do not know that. He heard the intelligence warnings through the network." "Possibly." My hands turned cold. My father had spent years telling my brother that I ignored orders and caused deaths. What if he had been involved in the decision that put us there? "What did he gain?" I asked. The investigator opened a file. His employer was facing contract termination. The extraction mission was intended to demonstrate that the relay system remained effective despite reported vulnerabilities. The commander stared at her. "We were a demonstration." "Not officially. Were senior commanders aware?" "That is part of the review." I remembered a delay before launch. Men in clean uniforms arguing beside a vehicle. A message that the route had been revalidated. My father's company needed the system to work. The mission needed to continue. People at desks had converted risk into a sentence on a briefing slide. The investigator continued. "Your father may have entered the channel during a communications failure because he believed the route remained viable." "He told us to continue," I said. "Yes." "After the warning?" "Yes." The commander lowered himself into a chair. I repeated the instruction. I looked at him. He did not defend himself. "I believed it came from operational control," he said. "The authentication matched. My father had the codes. He helped maintain the system." The former crew chief swore under his breath. I heard rotor noise in my memory. The valley walls. The first burst of gunfire. The commander ordering a turn. The delayed extraction. The aircraft filling with wounded. My father's voice had been present, and I had not recognized it beneath static. "Did he cause the crash?" I asked. The investigator answered carefully. "The aircraft was struck by hostile fire after remaining beyond the planned ground time. Mechanical failure followed. No single action caused every death." No single action. The official language of shared guilt. Accurate and unbearable. "Why did he blame me?" I asked. No one answered. I understood before they did. Because I survived. Because if my decision was the final mistake, his instruction was only background. Because parents who cannot live with guilt sometimes hand it to their children and call the transfer discipline. The investigator played the full restored audio. We listened for 43 minutes. The recording began before takeoff. Voices checked equipment. The Compass owner joked about missing his daughter's school play. The former crew chief complained about coffee. I heard myself laugh. The sound broke something inside me. The woman on that recording had not yet learned to make silence her home. The route warning came 12 minutes into flight. An intelligence voice recommended aborting. The commander requested confirmation. A delay followed. Then my father's transmission entered through the relay. "Route holds, continue extraction." The commander asked for authentication. My father provided it. We continued. At the landing zone, the rear team reported movement in the hills. We loaded wounded. The commander ordered departure when the aircraft reached capacity. I argued that 6 remained outside. He ordered me aboard. I disobeyed and ran back. The recording captured 3 minutes of chaos. Gunfire. Shouting. The former crew chief reporting engine damage. I returned with 2 wounded soldiers. The Compass owner remained behind with 3 others to cover us. He said over the radio, "Go now." I refused. He repeated it. Then he said my name. Not Sullivan. Rebecca. The recording carried his last clear words. "Take the living home." The aircraft lifted. A projectile struck the rear assembly. The warning tone began. We lost altitude but cleared the valley. The Compass owner's team disappeared from radio range. The official report later classified them as killed during enemy action. The crash occurred 9 miles away. The commander suffered massive blood loss. I crawled through burning debris, cut him free, and dragged him beyond the fuel line. The photograph captured that moment. The recording ended with my breathing, and the commander asking how many we had left. I told him 6. He said no, we left 4. We had counted differently for 17 years. The former crew chief paused the audio. 2 of the 6 reached another extraction point, he said. We learned later. The commander covered his face. So 4. Yes. The number did not make the weight smaller. The investigator closed the file. This recording proves your brother's clip was deliberately altered. Release that conclusion, I said. We can release forensic findings, not the audio. He will say you are protecting me. Evidence does not require his agreement. The commander looked at me. The full review will expose your father's role. He is dead. Your mother and brother are not. They built their lives around his version. The investigator said, your brother already knows. I turned. How? We recovered messages from the contractor who restored the audio. Your brother received the complete file. He heard our father. Yes. He released the edited version anyway. Yes. A pressure built behind my eyes. My brother had known I served. He had known I entered the valley under orders compromised by our father. He had known I saved the commander. He had known the fallen soldier chose to remain behind. And he still called me a fraud. Why? The commander asked quietly. The investigator opened another document. Because 3 days before the promotion dinner, your brother learned witnesses in his training inquiry had restored their original statements. He expected formal action. The former crew chief said he needed a larger scandal. He created one, the investigator answered. He positioned himself as a whistleblower. If military leadership challenged him, he could claim retaliation. The strategy was cruel, but not irrational. My brother understood the media cycle. He knew an accusation traveled faster than a correction. He knew secrecy would prevent me from answering. He knew the commander's involvement could be framed as proof of institutional corruption. He had planned the dinner as a trap. The salute was the only part he did not anticipate. The restaurant owner entered without knocking. I had not spoken to him since the photograph leaked. He carried a laptop and looked as though he had not slept. I found something, he said. I did not invite him farther into the room. He noticed. I deserve that. What did you find? The original sequence around the photograph. He placed the laptop on the table. I took 12 frames in 9 seconds. When I cropped the image for the reporter, I focused on you and the commander. You should not have given it to her. I know. That is not an apology. No, this is. He faced me fully. I violated your trust because I believed being right about the outcome excused taking the choice from you. It did not. The photograph helped you publicly, and I was still wrong to release it. No defense. No request for forgiveness. The words reached me because he did not ask them to repair everything. He opened the image sequence. In the first frame, I knelt beside the commander. In the second, the former crew chief moved behind me. In the third, a figure stood near the wreckage, holding a communications case. The figure wore civilian clothing. The face was partially turned. My father. I gripped the table. He was there. The investigator leaned closer. The restaurant owner advanced the frames. My father approached the wreckage after a recovery vehicle arrived. He looked toward me, but did not come closer. In one image, he held the scorched compass. How did he get it? the widow asked from the doorway. No one had heard her enter. She stepped into the apartment. The investigator frowned. Who brought you? The local reporter. The reporter remained in the hall. The widow looked at the screen. My husband wore that around his neck. I remembered waking in a field hospital without it. My father must have removed it from my belongings or recovered it near the wreckage. Why would he take it? The widow asked. Because there was something inside, I said. I took the compass from my pocket. The warped lid resisted. The former crew chief brought a small screwdriver from the restaurant below. He worked along the inner rim until a false backing lifted. The compartment was empty. The widow stared at it. He took the message. Yes. The garage video showed him placing a small object in an envelope. My brother had taken the boxes. Where would he keep it? I asked my mother over the phone. She was silent long enough to answer without words. Mom, your brother has the envelope. Did you see it? Yes. When? Before dinner. What was inside? A small recorder. Did he play it? She began crying. He said it would explain everything. What did you hear? A man speaking to his wife. The widow sat down. What did he say? My mother's breath shook through the speaker. He said he loved her. He said if he did not come back, no one should blame the medic. The widow covered her mouth. I closed my eyes. My father had kept that message for years. He had denied a grieving woman her husband's last words because the recording contradicted the story he needed. My brother heard it and repeated the crime. Where is he now? I asked. I do not know. Call him. He will not answer. The local reporter entered holding her phone. He just posted a location. The screen showed an announcement for a veterans community meeting at a church fellowship hall that evening. My brother promised to release the full truth during a live stream. The widow stood. He has the message. The Army investigator said, "You are not going." He is talking about my husband. We will handle it. You have handled it for 17 years. The widow walked out. The reporter followed. The investigator called local police. The commander looked at me. This is not only media strategy anymore. No. My brother was cornered. His promotion was gone. His training inquiry was closing around him. Digital investigators had begun tracing the anonymous emails. The full audio threatened his image and our father's memory at the same time. He needed one final version of the story. One final audience. The church fellowship hall sat behind a red brick sanctuary near the edge of town. By the time we arrived, police had blocked the street. Dozens of people stood outside with phones. The live stream had already started. On screen, my brother stood behind a folding table. The widow sat in a chair beside him. His hand rested on her shoulder. She looked furious, not frightened. Then I saw the wire running from beneath his sleeve. He held a small trigger device. The Army investigator said, "We have reports of a possible explosive." The commander looked toward the building. Is it real? We do not know. The restaurant owner appeared beside me. You should not be here. Neither should you. I closed the restaurant. That does not answer anything. No, it just means I am not leaving. A police officer brought a tablet showing the live stream. My brother looked into the camera. Rebecca Sullivan has been protected by secrecy long enough. Tonight, she will admit that her reckless disobedience killed American soldiers. Comments raced across the screen. More than 80,000 viewers. He turned the camera toward the widow. She deserves an answer. The widow said, I deserve my husband's message. My brother's smile tightened. You will hear it after Rebecca tells the truth. The Army investigator tried calling him. He declined. The commander tried. No answer. Then my phone rang. I answered. My brother said, come inside alone. Let her go. After you confess. To what? You left them. You heard the full recording. I heard you refuse an order. You heard Dad. Silence. Outside the church, wind moved through bare trees. My brother said, "Dad made one mistake. He sent us into the valley. He trusted the system. He blamed me to protect himself. He blamed you because you disobeyed. And you believed him." I believed someone had to be responsible. The desperation beneath his voice was clearer now. If Dad was wrong about you, then he was wrong about everything. Yes. The word came without cruelty. My brother breathed sharply. You do not get to destroy him. He is already dead. You know what I mean. I know you built yourself around his approval. You had his approval. No, I had his guilt. He went silent again. Then he said, "Come inside, or the widow dies with the truth still locked away." The call ended. The police commander refused to let me approach. The army investigator supported him. The commander argued for negotiation. The restaurant owner said nothing until everyone stopped. Then he asked me, "What will he do if you go in?" "He will try to make me say what he needs." "And if you refuse?" "I do not know. That is not enough. It is all there is." I removed the scorched compass from my pocket and handed it to the former crew chief. He shook his head. "No, take it. It is empty. It still got us here." I closed my fingers around it again. The police commander was distracted by a report from the rear perimeter. I stepped beyond the barricade. An officer grabbed my arm. The commander said, "Let her go." Everyone looked at him. He faced me. Do not salute him. Do not apologize for surviving. I walked toward the church. Phones followed my movement. The live stream camera near a window captured me approaching. The side door opened. My brother stood inside, holding the trigger. I entered. He locked the door behind me. The fellowship hall smelled of coffee, old carpet, and dust. Folding chairs had been arranged in rows, but only the widow sat inside. A phone mounted on a tripod streamed from the front. On the table rested my father's envelope. My brother pointed toward a chair. "Sit." I placed the scorch compass on the table instead. "I am done sitting while you tell my story." His hand tightened around the trigger. "Then stand." My brother had spent his entire life learning how to command a room. Even alone in a church fellowship hall, with police surrounding the building and thousands of strangers watching online, he arranged himself where authority would look natural. The American flag stood behind his right shoulder. The church cross hung far enough away that the camera captured it without making him appear theatrical. The widow sat to his left. The envelope containing her husband's final message rested in front of him. He had placed me opposite the live stream, where every expression on my face could be studied by people who believed pain was evidence. "You wanted the truth," I said. "Here I am. I wanted you to tell it before people got hurt. You started this at dinner. You started it 17 years ago." The widow pulled against a plastic restraint around one wrist. My brother had secured her to the metal chair with a zip tie. A black cord ran from beneath the table to the trigger in his hand. I could not see what it controlled. "You do not need her," I said. "She is the reason people care. She is a person. So were the soldiers you left." The words were designed for the audience. I looked at the phone. Comments moved too quickly to read. The viewer count passed 100,000. My brother said, "State your full name." "You know my name." "For the record, my name is Rebecca Sullivan. Did you serve in the United States Army?" "Yes." "Were you assigned to the mission connected to the audio recording released this morning?" "Yes." "Did a superior officer order you to evacuate?" "Yes." "Did you refuse?" "Yes." The widow looked at me. My brother's breathing eased. He thought the structure was working. "Did your refusal delay the aircraft?" "Yes." "Did the aircraft take hostile fire during that delay?" "Yes." "Did people die?" "Yes." He faced the live stream. "There it is." "No," I said, "there is the part you selected." His eyes returned to me. "You agreed to answer." "I am answering." You admitted responsibility. I admitted actions. They are the same. That is what Dad taught you. His jaw tightened. Do not bring him into this. He was in the valley. He was in North Carolina. His voice was on the operational channel. The widow stared at my brother. He forced a laugh. My sister is trying to blame a dead man. The forensic review confirmed it. No one has seen that review. The investigator outside has. An investigator protecting the army. You asked the army to investigate. Before they realized senior officers were involved. You mean before they found your messages? The livestream comments slowed in my perception, though they were moving just as fast. My brother's expression remained controlled. What messages? The anonymous emails, the payment offer to the former crew chief, the audio restoration invoice, the false nonprofit account. His thumb shifted against the trigger. You are lying. You knew I served before the dinner. No. You took my boxes from Dad's garage. I recovered family property. You burned the photographs and records. To protect classified information. You sent a classified map to my car. That is an accusation. You edited the cockpit recording. I released evidence. You removed Dad's voice. His control cracked. Because it was irrelevant. The widow said, a man sending them into danger is irrelevant. My brother looked at her. You do not understand the technical context. I understand you have my husband's message. You will hear it. When? After she admits she chose her ego over orders. I studied his face. He was not only trying to save his career. He needed the confession to preserve a moral universe where obedience made him good and disobedience made me guilty. His training accident fit the same pattern. A safety officer told him to stop. He continued. Soldiers were injured. He could not accept that command judgment had consequences, because accepting it would make him resemble both our father and me. So he created a cleaner story. He followed duty. I rejected it. He was the real soldier. I was the fraud. You continued a night exercise after the safety officer told you to stop, I said. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this. You do not know what happened. I know 2 soldiers were injured. The weather report was wrong. The weather changed. My orders were to complete the event. You could have suspended it. He pointed the trigger toward me. You think one secret mission gives you the right to judge every command decision. No. Then stop. I think surviving one bad decision gives me a responsibility to recognize another. His face reddened. You always do this. Do what? Speak like you are the only person who understands sacrifice. I have not spoken about it for 17 years. That was your choice. Yes. The answer surprised him. I continued. My silence was a choice. I told myself I was protecting the mission, the survivors, the local partners, Mom, you, and even Dad. Some of that was true. Some of it was fear. The widow watched me. My brother said nothing. I was afraid that if I told the whole story, people would decide I was either a hero or a murderer. I knew I was neither. I was a medic in a damaged aircraft making decisions faster than grief could count them. You disobeyed. Yes. The admission no longer felt like a blade. I disobeyed the commander because 6 people had not reached the aircraft. I ran back. I brought 2 wounded soldiers aboard, 4 remained. You delayed the aircraft. Yes. It was hit because of you. It was hit after I returned. It may have been hit if we lifted earlier. It may not have been. I will not pretend certainty where none exists. That is how you escape. No, that is how I stopped lying to myself. The room was very quiet, except for the hum of the livestream phone. I looked at the widow. Your husband stayed to cover us. I argued with him. I told him to board. He refused. He said he would hold the route until we lifted. Tears moved down her face. Was he afraid? She asked. Yes. My brother snapped. This is not the point. It is her point, I said. The widow's voice shook. Did he know he would die? I do not know, he knew the risk. Did you leave him alive? Yes. She closed her eyes. The answer hurt her. I did not soften it. He told me to take the living home. I obeyed him after disobeying everyone else. Why did you keep the compass? He gave it to me before the flight. He said there was a message inside if he did not return. The widow looked at the envelope. You knew. I found the hidden compartment after I woke from surgery. The recorder was gone. My father had taken it. You could have told me. Yes. Why did you not? I was ashamed. Of him. Of myself. She waited. I thought delivering an empty compass would force me to explain that I had left him. I believed you would hate me. I did hate you. I know. You let me hate a shadow. Yes. The word cost more than all the others. I am sorry. My brother stepped toward the table. Stop turning this into therapy. I faced him. What do you want me to say? That your refusal caused the mission deaths. I will not say something untrue. You admitted the delay. One decision can contribute without becoming the entire cause. That is cowardice. No, cowardice is editing a dead man's voice because the full message threatens your promotion. His face twisted. You think this is about promotion. It began there. It began when Dad looked at me and saw the child who stayed. The words came from somewhere beneath his performance. I heard the brother I remembered. You left, he said. You enlisted, disappeared, came back broken, and everyone acted like I was selfish for needing anything. I never said that. You did not have to. Mom whispered around you. Dad raged about you. Every room changed when your name came up. I was not in those rooms. That made it worse. He looked at the live stream as if he had forgotten it was there. I did everything right. Academy, training, deployment, command. I gave Dad the child he wanted, and he still kept boxes of your life hidden in the garage. He kept them because he was afraid. He respected you. He blamed me. Blame is respect in this family. The sentence was so honest it silenced us both. I stepped closer to the table. Dad told you I chose strangers over family. You did. I chose wounded people over an order. And then you chose silence over us. Yes. His eyes flickered. I should have told you enough to stop Dad's version from becoming your truth. I thought protecting you meant deciding what you could handle. You thought I was weak. I thought you were young. I was 20. And I was 26. Neither of us knew what we were building. He looked down at the trigger. Outside, a helicopter passed in the distance. The sound vibrated faintly through the church walls. My chest tightened, but I stayed where I was. My brother said, confess and this ends. No. The public already believes it. The public changes its mind every hour. The army will sacrifice me. The army is investigating choices you made. I followed the plan. The safety officer told you the plan was unsafe. He lacked the full picture. That is what Dad believed about the route warning. My brother looked as if I had struck him. You are nothing like him, I said. Not yet. His eyes filled with rage. Do not pity me. I do not. Then what? I love you. The widow turned toward me. My brother laughed once. You expect that to save you? No. Save me. No. His face changed. Then what good is it? It tells you what I will do next. I pointed toward the live stream. I will tell the truth about my decisions. I will testify about yours. I will not call you evil to make myself clean. I will not protect you from consequences to prove I love you. His hand trembled. You always protected me. I protected the version of you I remembered. And now I am speaking to the man in front of me. The widow said, play the message. My brother turned on her. You think he forgave her. You think one recording changes what happened. It changes what you stole from me. He chose the mission over you. He chose soldiers beside him. He left you. The widow's grief hardened. Do not use my pain to excuse yours. My brother lifted the envelope. You want this? Yes. Tell her to confess. No. His expression collapsed into disbelief. The person he had chosen as his moral witness had rejected the role. He tore open the envelope and removed a recorder no larger than 2 fingers. The restaurant livestream captured it. This is your husband's truth, he said. The widow pulled against the restraint. Play it. My brother held the recorder over the floor. Tell her, he said to me. No. He dropped it and brought his boot down. The plastic cracked. The widow screamed. I moved without thinking. My brother raised the trigger. Stop. I froze. He ground the recorder beneath his heel. You see, he said, every choice has a consequence. I looked at the broken pieces, then at the scorched compass on the table. The false backing had contained an empty compartment, but the compass lid itself remained unusually thick. My father's garage video showed him remove one object. The former crew chief had taught us to duplicate critical communication whenever possible. The compass owner had been methodical. He would not trust a single recorder. I picked up the compass. My brother aimed the trigger. Put it down. I ran my thumb beneath the strip of faded red tape. The adhesive had hardened with age. I peeled it back. A narrow memory wafer lay inside a groove along the hinge. The widow stopped breathing. My brother stared. You knew that was there. No. That was the truth. But every clue had led to it. The compass owner had scratched 3 lines beside the hinge, not decoration. A marker. My brother lunged toward me. I stepped back. The trigger cord tightened beneath the table. A small red light blinked near the wall. The device might be real. I held up the memory wafer. If you destroy this, the live stream still records you trying. He looked at the phone. For the first time, he understood that the audience he created no longer belonged to him. The comments were not visible from where I stood, but notifications flashed across the screen. Police entering rear hall. Audio confirmed edited. Release the widow. My brother grabbed the phone from the tripod. He turned the camera toward himself. This woman is manipulating all of you. The widow said she is telling the truth. He pointed the camera at her. You blamed her yesterday. I blamed her for silence. You are the one threatening me. I am forcing accountability. You tied me to a chair. He looked at the screen. Viewer count continued climbing. Reaction videos had already begun while the event was still happening. Local news was rebroadcasting the stream. Veterans groups that had attacked me were now analyzing the cord beneath the table and sharing screenshots with police. The digital world my brother built as a weapon had become a room with too many witnesses. I inserted the memory wafer into the adapter on the broken recorder. The screen flickered. Power remained. My brother moved toward me. I held the device near the livestream phone. A man's voice emerged through static. The compass owner sounded younger than I remembered. If this reaches my wife, then I did not make it home. The widow folded forward, a sob leaving her body. I need you to know I was not alone. I was with people I trusted. The medic will try to carry all of us if someone does not stop her. Despite the danger, the smallest laugh moved through the widow's tears. The message continued. The route is bad, we all know it. If we have to separate, I am choosing my position. No one is abandoning me. My brother reached for the recorder. I turned away. The compass owner's voice filled the church and the live stream. Rebecca, if you hear this, take the living home. That is the job. Do not build a grave inside yourself for everyone you cannot carry. My knees weakened. The message shifted back to the widow. I love you. Tell our daughter I kept the compass pointed home, even when I could not follow it. The recording ended. No one spoke. My brother's face had gone empty. The confession he needed had been replaced by the voice of the man he used. Outside, someone shouted through a loudspeaker. Release the hostage and place the trigger on the floor. My brother smashed the livestream phone against the table. The screen shattered. The stream ended. For a moment, he stood over the pieces, breathing hard. Then the overhead lights went out. Darkness erased the fellowship hall. A second later, smoke began pouring from beneath the table. The device was not an explosive. It was an improvised electrical fire connected to the building's power strip, and a canister designed to create panic. The fire alarm screamed. The sound entered my body before thought. Warning tone. Rotor failure. Smoke. The commander bleeding. The aircraft tilting. I could not move. My brother cut the widow's restraint. I heard the plastic snap. Then chairs scraped across the floor. Rebecca, the widow called. Her voice came from far away. I knew I was inside a church. I knew 17 years had passed. My body knew only fire. A hand seized my wrist. I swung blindly. My brother cursed. He pulled me toward the rear corridor. Not to save me. To use me as cover. The trigger device fell and struck the floor. The widow shouted. A side door burst open. Emergency lights spilled into the hall. The restaurant owner entered carrying a fire extinguisher. Police voices yelled behind him, but smoke blocked their view. My brother dragged me against his chest and pressed something hard beneath my jaw. A handgun. The church kept a locked security cabinet near the office. He must have known the access code from veteran meetings. The restaurant owner stopped. Let her go. My brother backed toward the maintenance corridor. You were told to stay outside. So were you. Put down the extinguisher. The restaurant owner did. Move away from the door. He stepped sideways. Smoke thickened along the ceiling. The alarm continued screaming. My muscles remained locked. My brother felt it. He whispered near my ear, still the fearless medic. The cruelty helped. Anger created a line through the panic. I focused on one fact. His right hand held the gun. His left arm crossed my upper chest. His balance favored his injured knee, an old training strain he never admitted bothered him. The widow stood near the table, free but trapped by smoke. The restaurant owner looked at me. He did not move. His eyes asked a question. Ready? I was not. That had never been the requirement. My brother pulled me into the corridor. The restaurant owner followed at a distance. Police officers entered the hall behind him, but my brother fired once into the ceiling. Plaster fell. Back up. They stopped. He dragged me toward the rear exit. The corridor passed the kitchen used for church dinners. Stainless counters reflected the red emergency lights. I saw the sprinkler control on the wall. Old building. Manual valve. The system had failed to activate because the smoke device produced heat below the threshold. I let my knees buckle. My brother stumbled. What are you doing? Cannot breathe. Stand up. I sagged harder. He shifted the gun to pull me higher. The barrel moved away from my neck. I drove my heel into his injured knee. He shouted and lost balance. I twisted beneath his arm. The gun fired. A cabinet door splintered. The restaurant owner rushed forward. My brother swung the weapon toward him. I grabbed the manual sprinkler valve and pulled. Nothing happened. It was locked by corrosion. My brother struck the restaurant owner across the face with the gun. The restaurant owner fell against a counter. I pulled the valve again with both hands. Pain tore through my old wrist injury. The metal gave. Water exploded from the ceiling. The alarm changed pitch. Smoke dropped. Visibility opened. My brother aimed at me. The widow threw a metal coffee urn from the doorway. It struck his shoulder. The gun discharged into the floor. The restaurant owner tackled him. They crashed against a folding cart. My brother drove an elbow into his throat and rolled free. Police shouted from the hall. Instead of surrendering, my brother grabbed the widow and forced the gun against her side. Back. The officers stopped. Water poured across the floor. My brother pulled the widow toward the rear door. I saw his plan. The alley led to a maintenance lot. Beyond it stood railroad tracks and wooded drainage land. He had likely placed a vehicle nearby. "Let her go," I said. "You first." "What does that mean?" "Tell them the investigation is retaliation." "No." "Tell them the training event was within regulation." "It was not." "You were not there." "The soldiers were." "They changed their statements." "They restored them." His face tightened. "You think anyone will trust me after tonight?" "No." The answer stopped him. Not because it was cruel. Because I refused the final lie. "I cannot save your career," I said. "You destroyed it." "You did." "You made me do this." "No." Water ran down his face. Behind him, the emergency exit glowed red. The commander appeared in the corridor, beyond the police line. My brother saw him. "Sir," he called, "tell them to lower their weapons." The commander stepped forward. "Release the hostage." "You know what she did." "Yes." "You saluted her." "Yes." "She disobeyed you." "Yes." "Then why?" The commander looked at me before answering. "Because a salute is not a declaration of perfection." My brother's grip tightened around the widow. "She caused the delay. I gave the order that placed us there. You followed operational command. I repeated an instruction I should have challenged. My father authenticated it. And I accepted it. You did your duty." I protected my career by allowing an incomplete report to stand. The commander's voice carried through the water and alarms. I told myself classification required silence. Sometimes it did. Sometimes I was afraid the dead would be placed at my feet. My brother stared at him. The two men he had built into symbols were refusing their assigned roles. The commander continued. "Your sister carried my part of the guilt because I let her." "No," my brother said. "I knew the public report was incomplete. I did not know her father's role, but I knew she had disobeyed to recover wounded soldiers. I knew she dragged me from the wreck. I allowed the record to reduce her to an unnamed medic because correcting it threatened questions above my rank. You are saying this to save her. I am saying it because you forced the truth into public view and expected only her to bleed." My brother's eyes moved toward the rear door. His calculation returned. The emotional argument had failed, so strategy took over. He pushed the widow away and fired toward the commander. I saw the gun rise. I threw myself sideways. The shot struck the wall. Police returned fire. My brother spun and fell against the exit. For one terrible second, I believed he had been shot in the chest. Then he screamed and grabbed his thigh. The gun slid across the wet floor. An officer kicked it away. 3 officers moved in, forcing my brother onto his stomach. He fought them even after the handcuffs closed. "You do not understand," he shouted. "She ruined everything." The army investigator entered behind the officers. "No," she said, "you documented everything." My brother looked toward me. Water dripped from his hair. Blood spread along his pant leg, but the wound was not arterial. The medic in me moved before the sister could object. I knelt beside him. An officer said, "Ma'am, step back. He is bleeding. EMS is coming. I am an emergency nurse." My brother laughed weakly. "Of course you are." I pressed a clean towel from the kitchen against his wound. He flinched. "Hold pressure," I told the officer. My brother watched me. "Why?" "Because you are alive." "That is not what I asked." "It is the only answer you get tonight." Paramedics entered. I moved away. The restaurant owner sat against the counter holding his throat. A bruise darkened his cheek. I checked his pupils, breathing, and neck. "You ignored police," I said. "So did you." "That is not charming." "I was not aiming for charming." "You could have been killed." "I know." His honesty left me nowhere to place my anger. The widow stood beneath the sprinklers, holding the damaged recorder and memory wafer against her chest. She walked toward me. For a moment, I expected another slap. Instead, she took my hand. "Come outside," she said. Dawn arrived before the church was cleared. News vans lined the street. Police lights painted the sanctuary windows blue and red. Clips from the live stream had already been copied, reposted, translated, slowed down, and argued over on every major platform. The original stream ended when my brother smashed the phone, but other people had recorded their screens. Millions heard the Compass owner's message before breakfast. The hashtag FakeMedicBeck disappeared. A new one replaced it. Take the living home. I hated it immediately. People printed the phrase over photographs of me. Influencers used it in motivational videos. A company announced t-shirts before noon, then deleted the post after veterans accused it of exploitation. The internet had not become wise. It had only changed direction. The local reporter approached while I sat on an ambulance bumper. She kept her microphone lowered. May I ask one question? No. She nodded. Then she sat several feet away without speaking. After a minute, she said, I helped turn your family crisis into entertainment. I looked at her. You reported what happened. I also used words like mystery hero because they increased engagement. Yes. I am going to report the investigation findings without using the hidden mission details. That would be new. She accepted the criticism. I am sorry. I did not forgive her. I did not attack her. Both choices felt like progress. The Army investigator came outside, carrying evidence bags. Your brother will survive, she said. I know. He is being transported under guard. What charges? Kidnapping, unlawful restraint, assault, weapons offenses, evidence tampering, obstruction, unauthorized handling of protected records, and others that will depend on federal review. And the training inquiry. It continues. His soldiers. One is recovering at home, the other remains in rehabilitation. Will their statements be protected from the media? We are trying. Try harder. She nodded. The forensic summary on the edited audio will be released today. Your service status will be confirmed through public affairs. Without the task force designation. Yes. And my father. His role will require a separate investigation. Some findings may remain classified. My mother deserves to know. She will receive what can lawfully be provided. The phrase would have enraged me a week earlier. Now I heard the limits beneath it. Some secrets protected power. Some protected lives. The difficulty was learning which was which before silence became a habit. The commander waited near the memorial garden behind the church. He had removed his wet jacket and draped it over one arm. Without the uniform coat, he looked less like an institution and more like the wounded man I remembered. I should have told the review board everything, he said. Yes. I believed the mission would be buried either way. It was. I searched for you. I know. I also stopped searching. I looked at him. That matters. Yes. He flexed the damaged fingers of his left hand. I woke in a hospital believing you had died. I woke believing the same about you. Your father told me you wanted no contact. He told me you blamed me. The commander looked toward the road, where my brother's ambulance had disappeared. He understood how to keep people separated. He called it protection. So did we. We stood in silence. Then he came to attention. I shook my head. Not again. His expression softened. This one is not for the cameras. I know. Then why not? Because I do not need you to turn me into a symbol. He lowered his hand before raising it. What do you need? The truth in the record. You will have it. Not only the parts that make me brave. He understood. The unauthorized delay. Yes. The recovered wounded. Yes. The consequences. Yes. The command failures. All of them. He nodded. I will testify. So will I. He extended his left hand instead of saluting. I took it carefully. His damaged fingers closed around mine. Thank you for pulling me out, he said. I was doing my job. No, you had already done more than your job. That distinction caused enough trouble. A faint smile touched his face. Then he released my hand. The widow waited for me inside the church sanctuary. Sunlight entered through colored glass and moved across empty pews. She sat in the front row, holding the scorched compass. The restaurant owner stood near the back with an ice pack against his cheek. I sat beside her. She turned the compass in her hands. He bought this at a gas station in Texas, she said. We were driving to visit his mother. It was cheap. The needle stuck whenever the weather changed. I smiled despite myself. He acted like it was military equipment. He acted like everything became military equipment once he owned it. She traced the 3 scratches near the hinge. He made 1 mark for me and 2 for our daughter. I thought they were an access marker. Maybe both. She held it toward me. I did not take it. It belongs to you. He gave it to you. For delivery. He said you would carry everyone if someone did not stop you. He knew me too well. He trusted you. He also ordered me to leave him. Both can be true. The sentence sounded simple in her voice. It had taken me 17 years to reach it. I accepted the compass. I should have come to you. Yes. I cannot repair those years. No. I am sorry. She looked toward the colored light on the floor. I hated you because hate gave the story a shape. My husband was good. You made a choice. He died. You lived. It was easier than accepting that he chose to stay. I understand. Do not say that too quickly. You are right. She looked at me. Will you tell my daughter? If she wants to hear it. All of it. All that I can, and I will tell her when I cannot answer. The widow nodded. That is more honest than silence. She stood. Before leaving, she placed 1 hand against my cheek where she had slapped me. I am not ready to forgive you. I am not asking. Good. Then she walked away. The restaurant owner approached after the sanctuary door closed. His voice was rough from the blow to his throat. You should be checked at the hospital. So should you. I already refused. That is not a defense. It is common ground. I looked at the bruise forming along his jaw. You gave the photograph to the reporter. Yes. You believed helping me made permission unnecessary. Yes. You entered a hostage scene. Yes. Do you have any good decisions to report? I brought a fire extinguisher. You put it down. He had a gun. I almost laughed. The sound came out broken. He sat beside me. I do not expect this to disappear because I apologized. It will not. I do not expect you to trust me. I do not. I can live with earning it slowly. You may not earn it. I know. That answer mattered. He reached into his pocket and removed a new leather cord. I repaired the compass strap while police were processing the building. You carry leather tools during hostage situations. I own a restaurant with old furniture. Something is always breaking. He threaded the cord through the compass loop and tied it with careful hands. Then he placed it on the pew between us instead of handing it directly to me. An offering without pressure. I picked it up. Coffee, he said. Not today, not tomorrow, sometime when you decide. That is not an apology. No, it is coffee. Your coffee is terrible. That is a separate conflict. This time, I did laugh. The sound echoed through the sanctuary. Weeks passed before the national cameras left Fayetteville. The Army released a statement confirming that I had served honorably as a flight medic and had been assigned to restricted operations. It acknowledged that the viral records request was incomplete and misleading. A second statement confirmed that the audio released by my brother had been materially altered. The full mission review took months. It found that intelligence warnings had not been properly elevated, that civilian technical personnel had accessed restricted communications, and that command decisions extended the aircraft's exposure. It also found that I had disobeyed a direct evacuation order. The report did not erase that fact. It placed it in context. My delay contributed to the timeline. My actions also resulted in 2 additional wounded soldiers reaching the aircraft alive. The report refused to call me either hero or criminal. For once, the official language felt almost human. My father's role became public only in part. His employer had pressured technicians to preserve confidence in a failing communications contract. He used access he should not have had and authenticated a route instruction after receiving incomplete information. Investigators could not prove he intended harm. Intent did not bring anyone back. My mother stopped answering my calls for several weeks. Then she left a box outside the apartment above the restaurant. Inside were my childhood photographs, academy letters I had thought were lost, and 7 unopened letters from the commander. A note rested on top. Your father told me keeping peace meant keeping his secrets. I do not know how to live without them yet. It was not an apology. It was the first honest sentence she had given me. The hospital offered my job back. The hospital administrator met me in a conference room with 2 board members and a public relations advisor. We regret the speed of our decision, she said. You mean removing me? Placing you on leave? After strangers called. We had safety obligations. You also had an employee. She folded her hands. What would you need to return? The old version of me would have said nothing. The old version would have accepted the badge, returned to the helicopter, and carried resentment like another piece of emergency equipment. Instead, I placed a proposal on the table. Confidential trauma support for veterans employed in emergency medicine, independent from management review. No career penalty for seeking help, training for administrators before responding to viral accusations. The public relations advisor glanced at the board members. That is a significant program. So was suspending a trauma nurse because TikTok demanded it. The hospital administrator read the first page. Did you prepare this? With the Veterans Clinic. Is returning conditional on approval? Yes. For 2 weeks, they negotiated. Then they agreed. My first flight back came on a gray morning in March. A logging worker had been injured outside a small town west of Fayetteville. As the helicopter rose, the city narrowed beneath us. My hands shook during the first minute. The rotor rhythm became the old rhythm. I smelled smoke that was not there. I told the pilot, I need 10 seconds. No one judged me. I counted my breathing. Then I went to work. The patient survived. My brother spent 3 weeks in the hospital before being transferred to the county jail medical unit. I visited after his arraignment. The meeting room divided us with thick glass. He wore an orange uniform and looked smaller without rank on his shoulders. For several minutes, neither of us lifted the phone. Then he did. I followed. You came, he said. Yes. Mom said you would. She does not know me as well as she thinks. He looked at the wall. My attorney says the live stream makes everything worse. It shows what happened. It shows one night. One night can contain many choices. He laughed bitterly. You sound like the report. The report was more generous. He looked at me. Did you give them my messages? They already had them. You testified. Yes. You are my sister. Yes. You could help. I am helping. By sending me to prison. By refusing to help you build another lie. His eyes hardened. You think consequences are love now? No, I think love without truth becomes control. Did the restaurant owner teach you that? Dad did, by doing the opposite. He looked away. After a while he asked, was he proud of you? Dad. Yes. I do not know. He kept everything. He also hid everything. He talked about you constantly. That is not pride. What was it? Fear, guilt, resentment, maybe love. People can feel several things and still hurt you. My brother pressed his hand against the glass. Did he know what would happen? On the mission. Yes. No, he believed the route was safe enough because he needed it to be. That is not the same as causing it. No. Relief crossed his face. I continued. But it does not remove responsibility. The relief vanished. You always have to add that. Yes. He lowered his hand. What happens to my career? It is over. His face crumpled for 1 second before anger covered it. You could have said maybe. That would be cruel. He swallowed. I do not know who I am without it. I know. No, you do not. I built my identity around being the person who could carry everyone. When I could not, I disappeared inside silence. What did you do? I asked for help. He almost smiled. You? Yes. From who? A therapist, the former crew chief, the widow, people I should have spoken to years ago. The restaurant owner. Sometimes. He leaned closer to the glass. Can you get me a better attorney? You have military and civilian counsel. They think I should plead. That is between you and them. Can you talk to the commander? No. Can you tell Mom I am not Dad? You can tell her. She will not visit. She is afraid. Of me. Of what visiting means she must accept. He looked down. I wanted to reach through the glass. I wanted to tell him I could fix something. That instinct had shaped both of us. Instead, I said, I love you. He laughed without humor. You said that in the church. I meant it there too. It did not stop you. No. He stared at me. Then he whispered, good. I was not sure I heard correctly. What? If it had stopped you, I would have used it again. The honesty was ugly and precious. I pressed my palm against the glass. After a long hesitation, he placed his hand opposite mine. We stayed that way until the guard ended the visit. 6 months after the dinner, the commander organized a private memorial at a field near the installation. No press. No live stream. No banner. The families of the 4 soldiers who remained in the valley attended. So did the 2 soldiers recovered during my delay, the former crew chief, the widow, the restaurant owner, and several people whose names could never appear in a public account. My mother came alone. She stood at the edge of the field, holding one of the commander's unopened letters. I read them, she said. All 7. Yes. What did they say? That he believed you saved his life, that he did not blame you, that he wanted to help with your medical care. I looked toward the commander. Dad told me they were accusations. I know. Why did you believe him? Because believing him meant I did not have to ask why my daughter stopped coming home. The words hurt. They were also true. I did come home. You slept in the guest room for 3 months and spoke only when spoken to. I was sick. I know that now. You knew then. I knew you were different. I did not know how to reach you. You could have asked. I was afraid of the answer. We stood facing each other in the open field. No dramatic apology arrived. No perfect reconciliation. My mother held out the letter. I am sorry I helped him keep you alone. I accepted it. Thank you. She looked toward the memorial stones. Will your brother ever forgive us? I do not know. Will you? I am trying to understand what forgiveness would require. That sounds like no. It sounds like the truth. She nodded. For once, she did not ask me to make it easier. The memorial began. The commander spoke briefly about the 4 soldiers. He described them as professionals, friends, parents, and people who made deliberate choices under impossible conditions. He did not use my name until the end. When I recognized Rebecca Sullivan at a dinner in Fayetteville, he said, I saluted because my body remembered before my mind understood. I remembered a medic refusing to leave the wounded. I remembered waking beside a burning aircraft because she had dragged me clear. He looked toward me. But memory is not the same as truth. Memory centers the survivor. Truth requires all of us. He acknowledged his order. The former crew chief acknowledged his decision to remain silent after the transcript changed. I acknowledged my disobedience. The 2 lives recovered, the 4 lives left, and the years I refused to speak to their families. The widow stepped forward last. She held the repaired compass. "My husband's final message did not absolve anyone," she said. "It reminded us that he had a voice. For 17 years, other people used his death to support their version of themselves. Today, we return his choice to him." She placed the compass at the base of the memorial. I thought she had given it back to me permanently. When she stepped away, she looked at me. "He found home," she said. I understood. The compass belonged there. After the ceremony, we gathered at the restaurant for dinner. Not in the private room where my brother had accused me. The restaurant owner had moved the tables outside beneath strings of warm lights. The air smelled of grilled steak, bread, and early autumn leaves. My mother sat beside the widow. The former crew chief argued with the commander about football. The local reporter attended without a camera and paid for her own meal. A young flight nurse from my hospital asked about the empty rectangles on my field jacket. I had worn it again. This time, I did not hide it beneath the table. "Did patches go there?" she asked. "Yes." "Why did you remove them?" I thought becoming invisible would make the past quieter. "Did it?" "No." She nodded as if storing the answer for later. The restaurant owner set a cup of coffee beside me. I took a sip and made a face. "Still terrible," I said. "You keep drinking it." "I am gathering evidence. For another public accusation. Private review." He sat beside me. Months had passed since the photograph. Trust had not returned all at once. He showed me every request the reporter made for his images. He transferred the full archive to a protected repository approved by the investigator. He never released another frame without consent. He did not ask whether that was enough. That helped more than asking. Across the table, the commander raised his glass. Someone asked me earlier why I saluted Rebecca that night. Conversation quieted. I looked at him. He continued. "The answer is not that she was flawless. None of us were. It is not that rank required it. She held no rank over me." The restaurant owner glanced at me. The widow watched the commander. "I saluted because I recognized the person who kept me alive," he said. "But if I had known the full truth then, I would have done something different." He set down his glass and walked around the table. For one nervous second, I thought he intended another salute. Instead, he pulled out the empty chair beside me and sat. "No distance," he said. The gesture was small. That was why it mattered. A salute honored what he remembered. Sitting beside me accepted what we both knew. Later, after the others left, I helped the restaurant owner carry dishes inside. The private room was dark. The congratulations banner had been removed months ago, but faint tape marks remained on the brick. I stood where my brother had placed the stolen valor complaint on my plate. The restaurant owner came beside me. "You all right?" "No." He waited. I continued. "I think I will be." That sounds medically promising. I am not giving medical advice. We turned off the lights. Outside, the city moved through another ordinary night. Cars passed. A helicopter crossed the sky toward the hospital. My body noticed the sound. It always would. But the sound no longer carried only the valley. It carried the college student from Interstate 95. It carried the logging worker who survived. It carried every patient lifted toward a place where someone might still save them. I had spent 17 years believing the most important moment of my life was the moment I left 4 people behind. That moment mattered. It always would. But it was not the only truth. I had also gone back. I had carried 2 wounded soldiers aboard. I had pulled the commander from fire. I had failed the widow with my silence. I had loved my brother badly by protecting him from reality. I had trusted the wrong people and distrusted some of the right ones. I had survived without understanding that survival was not a verdict. Outside the restaurant owner locked the door. "Coffee next Thursday?" he asked. "That depends." "On what?" "Whether you learn how to make it." "No promises." "Then neither from me." He smiled. We walked toward our cars. At the intersection, I stopped and looked back at the restaurant window. For years, I had imagined truth as a single door. Open it, and everything would finally make sense. Truth was not a door. It was a field after smoke cleared. Wreckage remained. So did the living. You could spend the rest of your life counting what had been lost. Or you could decide, without forgetting any of it, which direction to walk. I no longer carried the compass. I did not need it to know. Home was not the place where no one blamed me. It was the place where blame no longer decided who I was.